Ansari sir, all the best.
All the
Thank you,
best,
madam.
Ansari
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you, Meenakshi madam. Thank you, Raji madam. Shall I begin, sir, with your permission?
Wait for a minute.
Live नहीं हुआ.
Okay, sir. Okay. I thought कि सर ने लाइव किया है तो फिर शुरू करना.
हो गया अभी now. You can go ahead now.
Start? Okay. So a very good morning and a hearty welcome to everyone. I hope you are safe and healthy at home. Let's begin the session with the college prayer and take the blessings of the Almighty and show our spiritual emotions of gratitude. I request the technical team to play the college prayer.
ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ अस्तो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Thank you. Before we begin our today's session, let me give you the highlights of day 5. Yesterday's session was on enabling self-expression in the classroom and the resource person was Miss Ninoshka De Silva. We begin by asking the participant to repeat the words, I am fearless, I am brave, oh yes, and I got this. She continued with the activities of self-expression through verbally and through actions. She spoke about how this self-expression plays an important role in our life and to deal with the problems and stresses of daily life. She did another activity on tongue twister with the volunteers and told the participants to think of an object and express the emotions, feelings of the particular object in a creative manner. She then proceeded with the activity called drama games as fillers. In that, she showed a demonstration with her colleague. Before participants could do it, she showed them a few words of poetry and told them to make a poem out of the given words. Then she did a next activity called Monologue, in which she put 2 lines on a boy who feels unloved and told the participants to play the role of the character and continue the story in a small paragraph. Then she told them to express their stress. The session was moderated by Dr. Raju Talreja. Now I request student teacher Ms. Janvi Doshi to introduce our today's resource person, Ms. Angela George. Over to Janvi.
Thank you, Ansari sir. Good morning to all. On behalf of Bttc, I, Ms. Janvi Doshi, would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to today's session. It was often believed that drama is only limited to television. But hey, isn't it the 21st century? And here, drama not only caters to television, but it is also used in education. Miss Angela George, a today's resource person, believes in a philosophy where she encourages drama in education. Miss Angela has many feathers in her cap. She completed her BA from St. Xavier's College and went on to pursue MA in literature. She further completed her B.Ed from Bombay Teachers Training College. She was an enthusiast for all the activities at BTTC. She took part in varied competitions and bagged prizes for the college. She backed up the first runners-up place in the personality contest for teachers at BTTC in BTTC week. She also backed the third prize in fashion show at St. Xavier's Institute of Education. Now, she works as an English teacher at Hill Spring International School. She is an avid learner and enjoys creating and innovating new ways for learning. Miss George continued her journey for learning and teaching, even in the times of pandemic. She attended many workshops and many more webinars to quench her thirst for knowledge. She also completed her certification from Helen O'Grady International for Drama in Education and a Level 1 certification from Theatre Professionals Education in Online Drama for Learning. She is here to share her life experiences in her online journey. Good teaching is 1/4 part preparation and 3/4 part theatre. With this quote, ma'am believes that with dramatization in education, students can reach greater heights. We welcome you to BTTC virtual platform, ma'am. With this note, I would like to hand over this session to our very own alumni, Miss Angela. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. It's really nice to be back. I mean, even though we are in the virtual space, it's nice to see all of my teachers again. And I'm really looking forward to interacting with all the participants here as well. Right now, we are in a situation where the pandemic, any webinar or anything that we do right now, it can't go ahead without mentioning what's happening in the world outside, right? So while we were thrown into this whole online education sphere suddenly, what happened was we, as teachers and as students, both were at a loss as to what we need to do. And frankly, I have to tell you, the experience being adults as teachers, being adults, we still would have some skills to cope with this sudden change. But considering that the students face a lot of issues with online education, I think the best thing that we can do as teachers, first and foremost, is to make them comfortable where they are. Okay, so with that, I'm going to share my screen. Please let me know when it's visible, Ansari sir.
Yeah. Angela, you can start sharing. Yeah.
All right. So for drama in online education, why I believe in this, first I would like to tell you why I felt like, it's important to have drama in online education. I still remember a class with Miss Vanisha during my B.Ed time, and there was something very specific that she mentioned, which was VUCA. And I felt at that time, she said it's something where we are in a situation where everything is volatile, uncertain, it's complex, and it's ambiguous. And this definition, I think this was the first thing that came to my mind when the pandemic hit us. And it was something which I felt was the very apt way to describe what's happening right now, because things are constantly changing and there is no one way to describe or to understand what's happening with us. So in this situation, I think what we need to do as teachers is try and be there for the kids. And how do we do that? So first and foremost, I would like you all to first put in a number. Okay, any number ranging from 1 to 10, 10 being that you're feeling really good and that you're looking forward and you're excited, 1 being that you're bored, you're sad, you're confused, any of that. So from 1 to 10, any number into the chat box to give me an idea about what is the mood of the participants right now. Ansari sir, is the chat, are there responses in the chat? Yeah.
Yes, Angela.
All right.
Shall I read it for you?
I can't
Angela,
really see it, so I guess you'll have to. Yes,
it is 8, 7, 6, 6, 8, 7, 8. So maximum
right, so
7 and 8.
Above 5. Yeah, oh great.
Yeah,
that's
all are above.
So,
no, 1 5,
yes.
just now 1 5 came, another 5 came. The moment you said 5, 5 came.
Oh, okay. So,
But
now
majority are
that,
between 7 and 8.
oh, that's wonderful. So on a Saturday morning, I guess everyone is in a good mood. All
One,
right,
one,
great.
one, one, one person has written 4.
Oh. All right. So since we have people who are still, even if it's just 1 or 2, and since we have people who are below 5, I think you can pick up on what Anoshka taught you all yesterday and just put in one positive affirmation in the chat box. So she gave you one. What you can do is you can create your own positive affirmation, something, anything. It could be like, today is going to be a good day. I'm going to try my best. It could be anything. So everyone who's feeling really low, who's feeling down, I want you to put one positive affirmation in the chat box so that, it will just gear you up a little bit. Do we have the positive affirmations?
Not yet. Maybe participants are taking time to write.
It can just be one line. It doesn't have to be anything very elaborate. It can just be one line. So I'm going to try my best today. I've got this. Today is going to be
Angela,
a good day.
we got one response. Feel nice and wonderful day.
Okay, great.
By Smita Kalaskar.
So I would also encourage, yeah.
Another one is Supriya. She's writing, I'm strong and powerful.
Wonderful. That's amazing. I think that's giving me also a good boost to, continue with the presentation. I like it when there are responses. So
Correct.
I would encourage everyone to have this positive affirmation, because when you say it to yourself, you really make a difference to your mindset.
Another response by Shambhavi, to be creative. Another by Monica, it might not have started great, but I'll make it and end it superb.
Lovely, amazing.
Another one by Ruchi Agarwal, she's saying, I'm always be cheerful and happy.
I will
Another
make it
one by
better.
Kiran Shah, she's saying, I will make it better. Salome is saying, feeling happy to attend the session.
Great. All right. Okay, so let's move ahead in the session. Not able. Okay, yeah, there. All right. So I think you already did the emoji check-in, so I won't ask you to do it again. But now that, so what I do is at the start of every class with my kids, since they are sitting for almost 5 hours in front of the screen, I feel it's very important that at least 5 minutes at the start of every class, you talk to the kids. So that's what I do. So the first 5 minutes, they are allowed to say anything they feel. They are allowed to express whatever they are going through. So there are times when they are sitting and complaining about things. There are times when they'll get their dogs into the camera and show me that, oh, look at this, look at my dog, this is what he's doing. Yeah. And there are times when it would be something as silly as it's getting so hot. Even the weather, it could be anything, but to have that emotional connect is important, because right now the situation is absolutely uncertain and you need to be on the same page to understand what the children are going through, because their academic ability is going to depend on a lot more than just their attention span. It's going to depend also on a lot about their mental state. It's very important to be in a very good mood, to have that interest or that eagerness to study. So right now I'm going to play a song. The words of the song are written on the video itself, and I would suggest that if you want to sing it, you sing it with you, because that's what I do with them. I feel like if I realize that after I do the emotional check-in, when they put in their emojis or they put in a number, after I do that, after that, if I feel like the mood of the class is not really great, what I'll do is I'll play a song. So this song, you can unmute your mics and you can sing it as well. The words are on it itself. So I would suggest that you sing it. Requesting all the participants to please mute yourselves. camera and just enjoy the song and sing it if you want to. So you can switch on your camera, you can enjoy the song, you can sing it together. The words are right on the screen. I hope you can see and hear it. All right.
जल्दी हैंड ब्रेक बजा कर
Basically, yeah, thank you. So it's very
Yeah.
positive and it makes them feel also very happy. So there are several songs, like this is just one that I picked up for this session. So once you know that, okay, they are in this state, and one thing is you either play the song and let them just groove to it. Another thing I like to do, and I think everyone who knows me knows this, is that I like to dance. So I dance it out. Now this song, I will request you to please put on your cameras, because if you're expecting our children to be artists and performers, I think we first have to model it out for them, right? And if you've been in BTTC, I'm sure that you've had several chances to dance and perform and to put yourself out there and express yourself. So I would request everyone to stand for this. Put on your cameras, stand for this, and we're going to do a very simple, we're not going to do the whole song, we're just going to do some part of it. And we are going to dance. The steps are the ones that they're doing. So these are the Avengers. They are not the real Avengers. They are the ones in the costume of the Avengers. So my kids also, my students also like them a lot, and even I love Avengers. The song is called Chacha Slide. It's got nothing to do with Chacha, but the name of the song is Chacha Slide, and they tell you in the song exactly what you need to do. So listen as well as watch, and then do the steps. So I also will be doing it. So I request you all also to stand and do the song. All right. I hope you did the steps and I hope you felt it because it just changes your mood completely and also it really gets you going. It gets you in the mood like, okay, what's going to happen next? So that is one of the things I will be talking about later. Right now, okay. So right now, this is what the situation is. When I'm talking about drama in education, I'm also talking about the literal drama that goes on online. Okay, so half the time we spend about just asking everybody like, okay, can you hear me? Is your camera on? Can you see me? Can you say something? It's literally a modern seance. It's like, okay, we're speaking into nothingness and trying to figure out what is happening with the kids. So obviously that it's a very difficult situation where you can't gauge what's happening. So since this is one of the problems, I would like now Ms. Raju to please put up the first poll about the problems that we face in online education.
Ranjit sir, you're ready?
So that the others themselves.
Excuse me, Ranjit sir.
Yes.
Yeah, please do that. The first question.
Yeah, so the question is, according to you, what is the main problem with online teaching? And I've given some options and I want you to just select any one of them and we'll see what is the general consensus. %7 have voted, still waiting for the other votes to come in. All right, discipline and screen time seems to be dominating the poll right now. Very close. Oh, okay. We wait for a couple more responses. All right, I think, yeah.
Should
So
we end?
I think we should end it now. I think it's very close mostly. Yeah, so it's attention
Sharing the
span,
result
right?
now?
So,
I'll share
so
the
I can
result.
see the
Yeah,
result.
share
Yeah.
the result. Share the result, Ranjit sir. Yeah.
So everyone seems to think it is the attention span among students is very difficult to hold attention. I absolutely agree that online, in class at least there are several things that you can do. But I'm here to tell you there are several things that you can do online as well to hold their attention. So let's see how. So you can stop sharing the results.
Okay.
Ranjit sir, please
Thank
stop.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, continue, Angela.
All right. Okay. So this is something which is called as sketch notes, and this is what I want you to do throughout this session. So it's one of the ways to understand if the kids are paying attention or what they've got out of your session or things like that. This itself is a sketch note which explains what sketch notes are. So a sketch note is basically very visual. Generally, when you're attending a class, you generally write points. So instead of writing points, there are arrows, there are small illustrations. It's all your understanding put into this kind of a picture. You don't have to be a great artist to do it. You just have to try and make it all connect in some way, because generally whenever there is a topic that is being covered, there are a lot of connections to make, and also connections to make to what you as a listener or as an audience have understood. So throughout this session, you are going to work on your own sketch note based on what's happening during the session, and I will take that as your exit slip for the session. So please make sure that you're working on a sketch note so that I know if you've been attentive or what you liked about the session and things like that. All right. So moving on, I'm going to read this part. It's a bit of a riddle. And I'm going to read this part and I'm going to ask you to tell me what exactly is this, who is this person, okay? So I'm given a fixed schedule. I'm made to sit in one place all day. I eat at an assigned time. I move out only when permitted. I have fixed times enforced for everything I do. I have no individual freedom. I am expected to follow a dress code, walk in a line, and obey what I'm told in the name of discipline. If you can just put in your response in the chat so that I know if you've got what the riddle is. And sorry, sir, you'll need to help me with the chat. If you've gotten any response, please let me know.
Yes, definitely. I'll tell you. Just a minute. Just give me a minute.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. The two responses are A Child in a Conventional School by Monica.
Convention. Okay, yeah. In a conventional school.
Then Smita
Right?
Klaska, she's saying students. Natasha is
Okay.
saying the student.
Alright.
Ekta is saying student. Dr. Manisha Tyagi is saying students. Mitali Nath, students. Kiran Shah,
Okay,
a student in a school.
Yes. So you all are all right. It's absolutely correct. It is a student. And even the online situation has not really changed anything because right now they are imprisoned to their screens. And I just want you to have a look at this picture and tell me what exactly can you think of when you see this picture. So any responses about, you can raise your hand and I will probably ask you to say it out loud about what do you think after looking at this picture.
Angela, there is one participant. She's from saying from the YouTube. Shasti Agarwal, time says time from something like that.
Didn't really understand it. Okay.
Yeah, even I am unable to interpret what exactly she wants to say.
All right. So I want you to look at this picture and raise your hand. Yes, Kiran, your hand is raised. If you could just unmute yourself and tell me what did you get out of this picture?
Kiran,
Ma'am,
unmute
in a
yourself and say,
in a school, there is teaching and learning. In a prison, a person has nothing else to do.
Okay. All right. What about the daily schedule of these people? I mean, look at the setup. I'm just talking about the setup. Okay, look at the setup and see, what is there anything similar? Is there anything different? Because frankly speaking, when I saw this image, I was really blown because I was thinking that why do we have schools which have this kind of setup? And I'll tell you why I'm talking about all of this. It's basically to understand why we have moved to this, whole activity-based learning and experiential learning and student-centered learning. Because this setup actually came from something which is called the factory model system. And in this factory model system, basically, it was a time of industrialization. And we had gotten into large-scale manufacturing. So I'll let you have a look at what was the life of a worker in this factory. And then I would like you all to make connections to how it is similar to school.
Excuse me, Angela, I got few responses. After that,
Yes.
looking, Dr. Manisha Tyagi is saying both are same.
Yes.
Kiran Shah, she is saying that yes, the setup is similar. And there is a participant from YouTube. She is saying, Dr. Manisha Bhatnagar, the two faces of same side.
Wonderful. I love that description. Yes.
Yeah.
So school basically did become a kind of a prison. And now I want you to see about why in the first place we had this kind of thing. So first, let's just look at the day in the life of a factory worker. I think many of you will be able to connect with this. It is a depiction of Charlie Chaplin from modern times, and I think you'll enjoy it. what did the first thing about this, basically something that you felt after watching this, and if you can draw any parallels between this and the school system? You can either raise your hand or you can put it in the chat.
Nothing so far, maybe few seconds. Yeah, one response we got from Janvi Doshi, just doing one thing.
Right, monotony,
Supriya,
monotony, yes.
Yeah, mono. Another one is saying they were robots.
Definitely.
Another monotonous, same type of work they are doing like machine.
Yeah.
Another one, repetition of one thing. Just doing things without heart and mind in it.
Okay. Okay, so just based on the initial reflection that you had of it, when you know that, when you see something which is constantly happening the same way, in the same manner, it gets boring. There must have been some point in the video where you must have felt like, okay, he's just doing the same thing, and why are we watching this? What happens is that even...
Would you like to...
Yes, sir.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to
Yes,
listen
sir.
to the other responses?
Yes,
Other responses like just doing things without heart and mind in it. Another response, no charge in work. Another response, mechanical work, nothing new, by Dr. Michelle D'Souza. Shasti Agarwal, she is saying prison and school. Similarity is there. Both have doors, but one has closed, others with open, depicting freedom with less restriction, opportunities to explore for students.
Okay.
The response, Dr. Michelle D'Souza, she is saying mechanical work, nothing new.
Right. So
Yeah,
this is
you can
exactly when thank you, sir. So this is exactly when we talk about, the monotony. If you're just going to talk at the students, or if you're only going to have this whole thing, where they are just listening and listening and listening, it is bound to happen that they will not pay attention, that this monotony is going to get to them, and they are not going to be able to concentrate or anything of that sort. Now, this is some of the things that even I felt when we have the lecture method, right? So when we're just sitting and talking to somebody, at somebody, actually, not even to somebody, we're talking at somebody, the whole setup of a school is generally, even now, it's like everyone is sitting facing you and you're talking. As a teacher, that's what you see. One of the things that you want in a class right now is participation, because I think everyone now is very well aware and has made that transition, hopefully, in the 21st century, from being a person who's at the center and only giving out the knowledge to somebody who is taking in the views of students. So if you want to do that, you need to let them be themselves. And I'm very glad that yesterday's session was about self-expression, because this is exactly what you are expecting from your students. When you tell them, now I know there might be a lot of different opinions about this, but what I really believe in is when you're talking about self-expression, and if you tell that child that you just have to sit here, this is it, and sit here in one place, study, and if you need to use the washroom, you have to ask me, and things like that. What is happening is you are conditioning the child. In the words of one of my famous educational speakers, Ken Robinson. So Ken Robinson is somebody who said that schools kill creativity, and I firmly believe that this happens if you are constricting the child. And that's why I drew that comparison between the prison and the school, because if they are not allowed to be themselves, you will never get the best out of them. That is never going to happen. If you are expecting them to rote learn, if you are expecting them to follow this fixed schedule, I'm sure even in online, I know so many kids where they have this schedule from morning till afternoon, they're in school. After that, they have extra classes online. Their whole schedule, the whole day is so fixed for them that there is no time to actually sit down and express yourself and be creative or follow your passions, or whatever you find interesting. And that's extremely, extremely sad, because the practical bit is something which is getting missed out. And if you say you can't do it in online, then you are just somebody who is not trying hard enough. Because what happens is, the more they are used to sitting and looking at the screen, the more they are prone to... I have children who are just, while the lecture is going on, parallel screens. They are playing some game on screen online because they're so fed up. And this is a reality of online teaching. You have to understand that this is going to happen. So your effort in planning, your effort in everything that needs to be done to make sure that the attention is 24/7 there on you will require you to change what you do or what you've been used to doing. So I'm going to show you this video about how we learn for you to just have a new way of understanding basically that why it's so important to engage them and how the human brain works. It's a little high funda, but I will be explaining it again once the video is over, so I will be explaining it. But I would ask you to please use your sketch note and try to make those points right now. I'm just reminding you once again to keep working on your sketch note, because even in this video, they are making a sketch note. And I want you to look at how the brain works and what exactly enables you to learn.
Meet your brain. Weighing in at about 3 pounds, this single organ accounts for about 20% of your body's blood, oxygen, and energy usage. The brain houses 100 billion neurons, with each neuron having somewhere between 1,000 and 10,000 synapses, or connections to other neurons. Every thought, every action, and every memory is managed and stored in these neural pathways. What does this mean? Well, every brain is unique and uniquely organized. Yet historically, schools have educated students as if they had identical brains. In the drive to ensure standardized accountability, education has sought not to facilitate learning, but conformity. As the establishment of education systematically disassembles our students' creativity and motivation, students engage with new learning less and less and are not retaining learning in long-term memory. So how do we, the educators, design learning to facilitate this ultimate goal of long-term memory penetration? Well, we have to begin by hijacking their brains. There are basically 2 ways to do this: by providing the brain with a pleasurable experience or a painful one. Unfortunately, the more powerful of the 2 is pain. A teacher can prepare the most incredibly engaging lesson ever, but if the student is experiencing physical, social, or emotional pain, the pain will hold their attention rather than the learning. To stop this from happening, we must begin by ensuring that each student has a safe, risk-free learning environment. So that leaves pleasure as the best way to engage the brains of our students. To make learning pleasurable, it must be relevant, meaningful, and enjoyable. So just ask yourself one simple question: would I enjoy sitting in my class all day, every day? But remember, every brain is unique. Therefore, when introducing new information, teachers must provide students with multiple entry points to the learning. This means drawing upon students' interests, prior knowledge, and past experiences. Then, students often need multiple solution paths to connect with the new learning. When new information is introduced, the brain has to find a way to reconcile it with prior learning. This process is called cognitive conflict. Teachers often try to shield their students from cognitive conflict because the process can be frustrating. But to truly ensure that the information is mastered, students must be allowed to struggle and resolve their cognitive conflict. So how do we motivate students to endure this struggle? Well, research into cognitive psychology tells us that there are 3 key ingredients to intrinsic motivation. The first is autonomy. Giving students opportunities to make meaningful choices during the learning process gives them a sense of empowerment. The second is connection. This ingredient has 2 pieces. Students need to connect to each other collaboratively and also to the real world. This satisfies a relational need in the brain that helps motivate students. The third is the pursuit of curiosity in the progression towards mastery. This requires a balance between 2 variables, challenge and ability. If the challenge is low and ability is high, the brain becomes bored. If a challenge is too high and the ability is too low, the brain becomes stressed. A balance is needed between the two. And when the brain finds a challenge that is perfectly balanced with ability, the result is called flow. And it is the most intense enjoyment of learning that the brain can experience. When the three ingredients of autonomy, connection, and progression towards mastery are mixed together in the brain, the result is a storm of motivation. But the brain still has two other key needs to be able to struggle through and resolve cognitive conflict. The first is activity. If the brain encounters new information in a passive state, the result is passive learning, which has little chance of being encoded in long-term memory. By activating the student's biology through movement and multisensory experience, the brain begins to experience active learning, which is much more memorable. The final ingredient for long-term memory learning is self-reflection. This is the pillar that sustains the student through the struggles of cognitive conflict to translate learning to long-term memory. When these brain-compatible strategies are applied every day in every class, the result becomes exponential. With each passing year, students recall more and more prior learning from long-term memory, and the cycle of learning only grows.
All right. So I know there were too many connections happening during this video, but if you paid attention to what they were actually trying to say is how you can actually, ensure that there is long-term retention of whatever you learn. There are several times, even in my life, where I have walked out of an exam and I've just forgotten everything that I've studied. I'm like, okay, done with it now, please leave it away. But the practical things that I have done, I have never forgotten. And that's what drama allows you to do. And that's what you need to make sure that you're doing. Like, I'll give you an example. In terms of teaching literature, so I was teaching them a poem called In the Bazaars of Hyderabad by Sarojini Naidu. And she's written it at a time when they were trying to focus on Indian goods and Indian products being made. So she described the markets beautifully, and she spoke about the colors and the different spices and the aromas in the market. And that's amazing if you as an adult are reading it. But for them, it's not going to really make any sense because it's something which they have not lived in that time, and they don't see the point of actually focusing on that kind of promotion of Indian goods. So what I asked them to do simply was, we didn't read it first, okay? First, I asked them to just give me a mind map or a sketch or their idea of what is India as a nation. So they came up with things like festivals and the villages and the different ways, the different cultures and things like that. Now, based on what they knew about India, after that, I put in this image of what she was trying to explain and why it was important to see India as a manufacturing hub or as an important producer of these kind of goods. And then when we read the poem, they were still not able to, visualize it. It was just not happening. It was not, they were not able to, they were like, what are these turbans and what are these brocade things, and so those were the kind of words. Now, instead of giving them the meaning of the words directly, I showed them a video of that same poem. And that video was basically what helped them understand clearly that, okay, this is what it is and this is why it means. Now, after we are done with all that, once you compare it to something like the Atmanirbhar movement in India, or talk about this whole idea of how we need to promote local vendors, which is also right now on Instagram, where you're promoting local vendors. So these kind of connections are what are going to help them actually understand and apply it when they write something or when they talk about something. And so when you're making these connections, allow them, you may be teaching them something. So their idea of India was not that, it was not the markets, it was not all of that. But it is that cognitive conflict which is happening in their brain when they are trying to merge these two things about what they already know and how we can add to this, basically. So even with the new education policy, if you see, the middle school bit has been given this option of having internships to put them right there on the field so that they know what's happening. And that's the best kind of learning that you could actually have. So that they are in it and they know, afterwards, like, okay, this is what work actually is. This is what people do in an office. Because for a very long time, like in fact, right up to graduation, I myself was very confused as to, what exactly do you do in an office? Okay, fine. These are the kind of jobs, these are the kind of things. And when you're giving them that kind of exposure in school, because they are really smart in picking up these kind of things. When you show them and you take them there, or when you give them that live exposure, that's what really stays with them. Now, in terms of attention, I think it's been almost an hour. So in terms of attention, I want to know with the second poll, what exactly is your level of attention right now? So Miss, if you could please put up the second poll.
Ranjit sir, please put the second one. Yeah.
Yeah. So how would you rate the quality of audience attention in online events? So this is often a point of contention. Yes, attentive only when asked to perform an activity. I agree. 70% of the time. All right. We'll just wait for a few more responses. It's closed already, the polling. It's showing that the polling is closed.
No, it's on.
Okay.
Sir, I haven't got the poll. It suddenly disappeared.
Yes, sir. Even
Yeah.
mine.
It's closed, sir.
Okay.
It's all right.
I relaunch it.
Okay, fine. Is it visible again? Yeah.
The results are visible.
No, I think it's back
Yeah.
in. It's in progress. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
now viewing the question.
It is there. It is there. It.
Great. All right, so basically I'm just trying to gauge what is the level of attention in an online event. So you can imagine what is the level of attention of students in an online event. Okay. Attentive for 70% of the time, mostly. Okay, so everyone is voting for the third option, that is only when asked to perform an activity, right? Okay. So I think we can stop now, launch the results. Thank you, sir. Yeah, so the majority is basically when you are asked to perform an activity. So what happens is, if you look at the image, sir, you can close the poll.
Sure. Close the poll.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, please close the poll.
So it's basically when this is an idea of, it's called the science of attention, basically. If you know the story of Goldilocks, you'll know that she didn't like the porridge which was too hot. She didn't like the porridge which was too cold. She liked the one that was perfectly balanced. And those of you who are Avengers fan will know the reference as to why Thanos is there over there, because that's exactly what he likes. It's basically something which is extremely balanced. What you need to do in an online session is you need to also have this target the student's zone of proximal development. So it's something which Vygotsky has spoken of, where the student is at a particular level and there is so much that he can still do, and you as a teacher need to take him there. So when you saw that video in the previous one and you saw the graph with challenge and ability, you realized that if something is too complicated in what you're doing online, people get stressed. If something is too easy, people get bored. So your task as teacher is to make sure that it is something which is easy and a little bit challenging basically for students, that they will have to put in their mind to actually think about it rather than just getting the answers immediately. Now I understand you will say that everyone is different, and that's exactly what the video spoke about. But in terms of differentiation online, it is absolutely possible to do it. Okay, so if I am teaching the kids, supposing a grammar concept, and I tell them that this is what it is, and I'm trying to explain it to them or play an activity, and some of them have already got it. So the others who are getting bored, I will already tell them that there is another worksheet or there is something else which I have prepared for you, maybe a Wakelet or something, which is available for you to go and try and solve and look through it, because this part you've already understood or you've already got it, you've finished it. So move on to something else. And that is something which you feel like it's difficult to differentiate online, but it is extremely possible to do it. How is it that they can stay online for 2 hours without getting bored in a movie? How is it that they can actually play video games for so long without getting distracted or without getting bored? And how is it that half an hour of your class is getting them bored? Because they are coming in with that mindset that it is going to be extremely tedious, it is going to be very boring. Now, for that, you need to provide multimodal ways of entry. All right. So basically, if I read something to you, as you must know that it's very difficult nowadays to get kids to even try and read something. The minute you put a page in front of them and they've already like just zoned out. So how do you get them to actually read something? Now, while we are doing this, I want you to switch on your cameras. I'm going to read out this story. It's an amazing book called Wonder. And I want you all to put on your cameras and I want you to emote this story as I'm reading it. So you need to give me expressions based on what's happening in the story, expressions of the characters, all right, of the characters. So whatever, so if they're angry and I'm saying it angrily, I want that angry expression on your face. If I'm saying it in a very nice way, if I'm being sarcastic, I want that sarcastic expression on your face. So switch on your cameras, please. Give it a minute so that everyone can switch on their cameras. We will do this short book read, and I want you to give the expression while I'm reading the story. It's an excerpt from this book called Wonder, where this child is facing, so he's been homeschooled for very long because he has a disfiguration of the face since birth, and he's been homeschooled because of that, because he had several operations. And now he's finally going to join a school in grade 5. So he meets the people in the school, some students, and this is how they react when they first time see him. So I want those reactions on your face so that I know that you're there, you're present, and I want to see how you feel when you read it. Okay? I'm going to start. I hope everyone's ready. Yeah. So Julian looked directly at me. The science lecture is supposedly the hardest elective of all, he said. No offense, but if you've never ever been in a school before, why do you think you're suddenly going to be smart enough to take the science elective? I mean, have you never even studied science before? Like real science, not like the kind you do in kids. Yeah, I nodded. He was homeschooled, Julian, said Charlotte. Julian and Charlotte are basically going in the school.
One second, some noise is coming.
Hello?
Yeah, Angela.
You can hear me, sir?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yes,
I can hear
you.
Okay, so Julian and Charlotte are basically these two kids who are showing him around the school. Okay, so Julian is trying to understand if he knows anything at all, or what is he going, how is he going to cope up. He's not really concerned, but let's see what he does. So Augie is the name of the boy who has the disfiguration of the face. So he says, yeah, I nodded. He was homeschooled, Julian, said Charlotte. So teachers came to his house, asked Julian, looking puzzled. No, his mother taught him, answered Charlotte. Is she a teacher? Julian said. Is your mother a teacher? Charlotte asked me. No, I said. She's not a real teacher, said as if that proved his point. That's what I mean. How can someone who's not a real teacher actually teach science? I'm sure you'll do fine, said Charlotte, looking at me. Let's just go to the library now, Jack called out, sounding really bored. Why is your hair so long? Julian said to me. He sounded like he was annoyed. I didn't know what to say, so I just shrugged. Can I ask you a question? He said. I shrugged again. Didn't he just ask me a question? What's the deal with your face? I mean, were you in a fire or something? Okay, let me just go to the next page. All right, so then Charlotte says, okay, Julian, that's so rude. Oh, we've gone, yeah. Julian, that's so rude, said Charlotte. I'm not being rude, said Julian. I'm just asking a question. Mr. Tushman said we could ask questions if he wanted to. Not rude questions like that, said Charlotte. Besides, he was born like that. That's what Mr. Tushman said. You just weren't listening. I was so listening, said Julian. I just thought maybe he was in a fire too. Jeez, Julian, said Jack. Just shut up. You shut up, Julian yelled. Come on, August, said Jack. Let's just go to the library already. I walked towards Jack and followed him out of the auditorium. He held the double doors open for me as I passed by. He looked at me right in the face, kind of daring me to look back at him, which I did. Then I actually smiled. I don't know, sometimes when I have the feeling like I'm almost crying, it can turn into an almost laughing feeling. And that must have been the feeling I was having then, because I smiled almost like I was going to giggle. The thing is, because of the way my face is, people who don't know me very well don't always get that I'm smiling. My mouth doesn't go up at the corners the way other people's mouths do. It just goes straight across my face. But somehow, Jack Will got that I had smiled at him. And he smiled back. Julian's a jerk, he whispered, before Julian and Charlotte reached us. But dude, you're gonna have to talk. He said this seriously, like he was trying to help me. I nodded as Julian and Charlotte caught up to us. We were all quiet for a second, all of us just kind of nodding, looking at the floor. Then I looked up at Julian. The words supposedly, by the way, I said. What are you talking about? You said supposedly before. I said I did not. Yeah, you did. Charlotte nodded. You said the science elective is supposedly really hard. I heard you. I absolutely did not, he insisted. Whatever, said Jack. Let's just go. Yeah, let's just go, agreed Charlotte, following Jack down the stairs to the next floor. I started to follow her, but Julian cut right in front of me, which actually made me stumble backwards. Oops, sorry about that, said Julian. But I could tell from the way he looked at me that he wasn't sorry at all. Now, if you've done the expressions while I was reading, you will realize that you actually try and feel what the character is feeling. So this is one way to do it, so that, while the person is reading, the children don't get bored. So you try to emote it so that you know that you can see the expressions in the face of your students as well, and you know what they are feeling. After that, I show them this video. So it's basically a lesson in empathy. Show them a video and see how you feel once you've watched that exact scene in a video. So the book reading will give you a chance to imagine it on your own, and then when you put in a video of the same thing, or you let them see it from the way it's portrayed through someone else's eyes, they just get a very different understanding of what's happening and what's the whole context of what's happening. All right, so now we're going to do something which is called Poetry for Two Voices.
Voice is getting echo.
Yes,
Hello.
sir. Now is it okay?
Now it's
Chitra, you
fine.
need
Now
to mute.
All right. Yeah. So this is something called Poetry for Two Voices, and I want everyone to try it. So when you're teaching something and you want them to really understand the character, the different qualities of the character, or even if it is something where maybe it's geography and you're talking about discovery and inventions, you can take two of the maybe a Columbus and an Indian native, or you can take possibly even a bystander at a particular historic event if it's history, and try and write from the perspective of those two people. So this is one which is already done, which is Batman and Joker. So basically, there are similarities and there are differences, and I want you to give it a try. And I want you to try it with school and prison, because we've discussed that in so much detail. I think it'll be easier for you to do it. So we'll give it around, say, 3 to 4 minutes, so that you can try this two-voice poetry. So read this one and see what you get out of it. Okay, so Batman, I'm Batman. I'm Batman. I'm a hero. Joker, I'm the Joker. I'm a villain. Batman, I have secrets. Every day I fight crime caused by the Joker. I have secrets. Every day I perpetrate crimes which are solved by Batman. We are total opposites. We are total opposites. I'm humble. I crave attention. People admire me for my work. People fear me for my work. I have a loyal sidekick. I wish I had a sidekick. Without the Joker, I'm nothing. Without Batman, I'm nothing. So this was about say a hero and a villain, and that's how this is. So this is something which I also did with my class, and I asked them to bring out two perspectives of two absolutely different things, or even in a story, it could be two characters that you want them to just write about their feelings or things like that, so that it's a very nice way to bring in two perspectives on something. So if we can give it 3 minutes and you can write about Batman and Joker, or you can write about school and prison, since we've discussed it so much. So you can write about school and prison. You can talk about the similarities, you can talk about differences, even if it's 2 lines, if you're not able to think right now at the moment, even if it's 2 lines, I would still ask you to put it in the chat. So you can write prison, you write 2 lines, and school, you write 2 lines, so that we can see how that works for you. So I would request you to actually try it, because if you're going to try all of these things with your class, it is important for you to try it first to see how it works. So in case you're unclear about what you need to do right now, you can raise your hand and ask a question. I will clarify it again. This is basically called Poetry for Two Voices, and it allows you to give 2 different perspectives about something. So you can apply it to any lesson, to anything. It could be anything in science. Maybe 2 different chemical compounds. It could be, so that it just makes it more clear. I'll give it 2 minutes more. And sorry, so please let me know if there's something in the chat. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I think you should really try it, because I really enjoy doing this myself.
Not yet. I'm also waiting.
Yes.
Somebody will put in a chat. I will definitely read it.
Sure.
Yeah, participants, come on.
I think prison and school will be a nice thing to try, since you've already made so much of a comparison between the two, and we've talked about it. So maybe something you can write about that, or if you feel like you want to write about something else also, that's absolutely fine.
Volunteers can put the things from the YouTube over in the chat.
All right, so I'm going to not take any more time for this right now. Even later on, if you have managed to come up with something, I would love to read it if you put it in the chat. But this is something which has really worked with me.
We got one
Yes,
response. We got one response from Das Mehta.
all right.
One balances the other. One balances the other. Just one response.
But that's it. But I don't think that's to do with the poll, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Asha, I think he's giving about Batman and Joker. All right, yes. Okay, so maybe you can take the time. Yes, so in case something comes up, then let me know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, right. So now I want to look at something which is called as Agentic Learners. So what we're doing is we are trying to make them responsible for their own learning. And with online education, this is extremely important because they are left to their own devices. And often we have teachers, like I know I have spent innumerable days just writing long mails to parents to please make sure that they are, giving in their work. Because when you're physically in front of them, you can speak to them and you can actually make them do it. But online, it becomes really difficult at times. So what you need to do is develop a way in which it's possible for them to take responsibility for their own learning. And this is only possible if they like what they do. It's very important to make sure that when they do some activity or when they do some kind of say any performance or any even a test needs to be something which is not merely based on written work or only something which is going to check what they have learned in that way. So what I did was for one of their tests, we had the story of Robin Hood. And what I asked them to do was to go into groups. So they went to their breakout rooms, they discussed the story. And I told them, you need to twist the plot of Robin Hood. Now, in order to twist the plot, you need to know the plot of Robin Hood. So they had to read the story. And they had to understand what this character is and why is he so well known and what is his main trait and all of that. And then they had to twist it into something absolutely unusual or something which was new. And they came up with such fabulous works. So they had everything from very good narration to acting to putting in images and creating videos on their own. And the stories themselves were written so well because that was the creative freedom which was awarded to them, and they actually managed to come out of it beautifully. So there was one story which said, Robin Hood is in love with a girl, and ultimately she only robs him and she goes. But obviously, I'm giving you a very short version of it. But that's the kind of imagination that was going completely crazy, and I let them go crazy with it because that just showed me that they know what the story is originally and able to come up with something so nice. Now, when you're doing this kind of group work, I know it's difficult to keep a tab on things. So what you can do is when you're making these breakout sessions, please enter those rooms and give them that criteria that, okay, at the end of 20 minutes of group discussion, I want you to have this ready. And if you don't have it ready, then you're going to get minus points for your, whatever work that is there. Also, give a credit slide. So who has done what work in the group is important. Now, they're bound to have fights about this because they're kids, but just let it go. So you feel like somebody hasn't done something, it's fine. Let them do the presentation on their own, but give them that chance. So I have not taught, I think I've done around 10 stories and poems and everything so far, all through the online thing. A little more than that, including grammar and all that. But every story has been something where they had to come up with it and not me. So one story I gave them just one page of it, we read it together, they went into their groups and they had to discuss what is going to happen next. It was just a simple thing of discussing and predicting what's going to happen next. And what happens with such activities is they get absolutely involved rather than you just sitting and listening to something which is, okay, fine, I know I can read the story anytime at my own convenience and I will still know what to do with it. And that doesn't really work. So how do you get them involved? Now, you yourself are an artist. You have to understand that. As a teacher, you are a performer. So I really like the quote which was even said in the introduction, which spoke about how teaching is a very small percentage of planning and a lot of theater, and that's what it is. So you are an artist as a teacher, and you need to set the stage. So the elements that are used, I would tell you, one is surprise. All right. So every 15 minutes of your class, do something different. If you feel like, it's dragging, like even I feel sometimes that the class is really dragging and I'm losing their attention, just put in something absolutely surprising. So it could be, so there are so many apps right now, there are so many ways to do it. You could just get them into an impromptu dance. I'm sure Anushka must have also shown you all so many energizers. So try any of those with them. Just keep it. You can't be monotonous. You saw what happened with the Charlie Chaplin video. It can't be monotonous. There has to be an element of surprise every 15 minutes so that you just do something which keeps them going. So I generally take inspiration from things I watch. So for me, I have this fastest finger first game sometimes where I'll put in a question and the person to answer first immediately in the chat is somebody who gets a bonus point. So rewards are basically extra time, to maybe give a test or maybe a little more, or maybe 5 minutes only to that person to present whatever he or she wants. So those are the kind of rewards that you can give online. So one is surprise. The other is humor. It is extremely, extremely important to put in a little bit of humor to anything that you're doing, that you're saying, because it's kids. And, I'm not even telling you that you need to be very funny because frankly, no, I don't find too many things funny, but it's them, they themselves are so funny when you're talking about things, but if you don't give them an opportunity to express it, they are not going to, come out or try and engage with that topic so well. So I'm not putting the onus completely on you. So maybe you are not a funny person and that's fine. But you give them that chance to discuss it or give them such situations where you're just toppling things on their head so that it's completely okay to go crazy with the story like we did with Robin Hood, and they came up with the most hilarious things. So let them, if you are not able to, then you let them also bring in that kind of humor to class, because that's when they feel like, we're doing something interesting. Another thing is it has to be absolutely relevant. Okay, so you have 10 things to teach them. There is the portion, there are the exams coming, and there is all of that that's happening. But do you think they're really interested in that? They are kids and they want to have fun. So you need to bring in this collaboration of what you want to say in such a way that they actually get interested in it. So every story, you have to find a personal connect. It is very, very essential that you figure out what about the story can I take as a hook, and I can start with it in such a way that they will get involved in it no matter what. The personal connect, I'll tell you what I did for one of the chapters, which is called, it was a poem called The People Upstairs. And apparently it was just this thing that there are these neighbors or people upstairs who are making a lot of noise. So when they run, it sounds like people are skating and things like that. So what I asked them was, my personal connect was as simple as, what are the things that disturb you? And how do you think so what is your reaction to it? And they went completely berserk. So apparently everyone had a neighbor who was facing this kind of issues, who was disturbing them. And they went completely crazy. Miss, this one at this time, no, they have to play such loud music and I don't get to sleep and I can't do this and I can't do that. And they just went on about it. So we had 10 minutes of class just listening to their complaints about their neighbor. But what it just told me, frankly, was that they got what the poem was trying to say. And then I told them, you use metaphors and similes and comparisons to just express the same thing that you're feeling right now about your neighbor in such a way that you are able to compare it to something. So he is as loud as a trumpet or things like that. So that's what they did. Then because they had already expressed it and they knew what they were feeling, they could easily compare it to something else. Okay. Another story that we did was on rumors. So basically, it's this story on the boy who broke the bank, where one small rumor goes on to become so much that the bank goes bankrupt. So I'm just giving you the gist of the story. Now, if I was in class, I would have asked them to whisper into each other's ears and see what we get at the end result. But I wasn't in class and I have to do it online. So what I told them to do was to switch on their cameras and simply do an action. So if one of them claps, the other one can show a sleeping action, but you have to take that for earlier action. So if I have clapped, you have done the sleeping action. Okay, the person who's third will do clap, sleep, and their own action. So it has to build, and go on to the last bit. And that's what they did. And it was fine because they were missing out and there were internet connections, obviously, as you expect, connection problems. But it just kept building. And then finally what they got, the action was completely wrong. But that's the point. That is what I was trying to tell them, that when you have these kind of rumors where you're just trying to, when it goes from one person to the other, there is some mish masala which is being added, and that's why rumors are completely unreliable, and that was the point of the story. And it was simply done through this activity. I did not get into the story to so much detail because with online education, you have to understand right now the buzzwords are synchronous and asynchronous learning. All right, so you can't be stuck with just saying, I'm going to read the whole chapter online, then I'm going to explain each word. It doesn't work like that. I ask them to read the chapter and come, we discuss it, or we enact it, or we play around with it in any way that we can, or we watch some, adaptation of it, and that's it. Then I will tell them themselves to work on their word meanings if they are finding it difficult, or if they've read it and they've not understood it. That is when they ask me. But that asynchronous learning, that is which is not happening live online with me, that has to come in first, and only then can we actually have this kind of online activity and drama. Because I know the first complaint will be that we don't have enough time to do this. There is enough time if you ask them to be responsible, and it is a part of making them agentic learners. It is a part of giving them the agency to do what they can to improve themselves or to develop or to add to their learning. So there was another topic which was called, I had to teach them intonation. And I was realizing that 11-year-old, 12 years old, I can't sit and tell them what is tone and what is pitch. No doubt they'll understand. But what I told them was that take a poem and simply read it out, perform it. That's what I said. So perform the poem. And you won't believe, I think you should watch this. It's going to be amazing that this is what they came up with. The poem is of their choice. They are very short poems, but the video editing, the way they presented it, their intonation, the way they are saying it, is everything is all them. I have not done any of this, and this is what they've come up with absolutely on their own.
Hot and cold. A woman whom my mother knows came in and took off her clothes. Said I, not being very old, by golly gosh, you must be cold. No, no, she cried. Indeed, I'm not. I'm feeling devilishly hot. Thank you.
So that was one. This is one more.
Once I dive into these pages, I may not come out for ages. Books have power over me. Inside a book, I am not free. I am a prisoner in a land of printed paper on my hand. Do not worry. Do not fear. I am captive here.
Can the participants please mute themselves? So this is something which they come up with absolutely on their own when I ask them to perform. So that's the kind of freedom and autonomy that video, the one which spoke about what actually is going to help them retain better. That's the kind of autonomy that you need to give them in this online space. Because as it is, they are left on their own. So what you do online is only how you're guiding them in order to express themselves better and to bring out their understanding of what they have done. For that, you need to give it the time to discuss, you need to give it the time to enact, and you need to make sure that they are enjoying. That's the most important part, because For them, it's back-to-back lectures, and it gets extremely tiring. If everything is just going to be all listening. So these are some of the ways. I'm sure that in the sessions through the week, you must have covered a lot of these. So I'm just going to quickly run through it because I think it's almost, I'm running out of time. All right. So meanings of words and concepts through Daksharas. So let them explain a concept of about say maybe a meaning of a word. So anything that they're confused about, let them enact it out, let the others guess it. It really works. Okay, so basically you'll just, they'll get more engrossed also in the word. So we have twice a week we do vocabulary, and they are allowed to present it the way they want. I don't teach them the words, they come up with the words that they want and they will present it the way they want, and that's how we learn new words. That's how we're building on their vocabulary. Story plot, chain story, I think everyone is pretty aware of this. You start with one person starting the story and it goes on. So everyone in the class gets a chance to add a line to that story so that, they are all engaged into it. Speak as an object of the story. So we did one story where I asked them, why do you think this object, what does it represent and why is it important? Because one person in the story was a painter, many of them came with a brush and they gave me symbolic meanings of what exactly that object is speaking to them. Hot seating, I'm sure you've covered over the week. One person sits in the, so one person is the character and everyone else asking questions about why he's feeling or why he did a particular thing or why he acted this way or what did he think about it. Poetry workshop is something which I'm sure you must have not done. Okay, so I try to use things which I come across in my daily readings or even on social media for that matter. So there's a very famous poet, she's Rupi Kaur. She does these Instagram live sessions on poetry workshops, basically these are, and they really prompt you on how to write. So I've done a couple of them myself and I felt like one of them I could easily do in class because when I told you just write a poem, it doesn't come that easily. It's not something like that a drop of a hat. I'm not asking you to write ABCD. It's not something it's something you have to think. So with that workshop, what I did was I helped them it was giving them prompts basically to write, and they came up with beautiful pieces of writing. And I realized that they just needed that extra guidance. She was not telling you what to write, she was telling you what to imagine. And since we have that available with us because of the online mode, there are so many good authors, poets, and so many experts who are putting out so much of content there. You as a teacher, your job is to make sure that you are in sync with the things that are happening and how you can apply it to your online teaching. So change the plot. I told you Robin Hood, we changed the plot and we presented it. So persuasive writing, rather than just writing, I gave them techniques. Obviously, I taught them some techniques to write persuasively. And then I told them, you are a salesman, you pitch your product. And then the others had to buy it. So how many of you would buy would raise their hand. If you would not buy, then the salesman had the option of asking, but why would you not buy it? What can I change or what can I do better? Okay, we will come to questions. If you have a doubt in the next 5 minutes, just give me 5 minutes, I'll finish this. Tableau, I'm sure, recreate a scene, let them all be one characters, let them freeze in a frame. You can ask questions as to what the character is feeling. Mantle of the expert is basically something where one of the characters or maybe you can assign. Okay, so for example, if you've done something on say gravity, okay, and you can make that person a scientist and you can ask questions. So that means that they have to know already things which are taught or things about the content. And then you as a researcher or a reporter can ask questions to them about it, and they are the expert and whatever they say is final and you leave it to them. That's also a wonderful way to assess, where you give them, it just gives them that confidence, that I'm the expert, so I should know everything, and that's why they'll take in that extra effort to study more. The last part is this. So in different subjects, so I'm sure you must have felt like, yeah, it's easy to do this in English and it's easy to do this in history, but what about so many other subjects? It is possible to do it in almost all subjects. You just have to take that little extra effort to see how you can connect things. Okay, so in art, you can take on the role of a character in the painting, and or you can take on the role of a photographer, or you can take on the role of something which is painted, anything. and let them talk about it. So if you want them to get the history of what happened, why was this painting made, what were the social situations at that time, you can be a bystander and you can tell them. The point is you're still giving them information, okay? But you can't just give them information in a dry manner. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It has to be interesting for them, and it has to be them who are actually taking control of that information. So obviously it requires work on their part, and it requires you to trust them to do that work as well. In geography, you can take teacher in role, so where you pretend like you're taking them on a tour of this place. So, there are these chapters which have, okay, in this region, this is grown, and in this region, this is grown, and they're all wondering, like, why am I learning all of this, basically? So you can make it interesting for them and tell them that you're possibly a botanist, or you're possibly somebody who's coming to, improve the agricultural system in India, and that is why you need to know all of this. Give them appropriate context, and they will take interest in what they are learning. In history, basically, you can make them write from the point of view of somebody who's been there at that time in that situation. So you can possibly show them a video on what happened. So if it's a war, you show them a video on the war. Now, you as a bystander, what were you feeling at that time? I think empathy and I think feelings in such situations will really help them and gear them up to, take interest and learn about these events that have happened. In literature, I've given you so many. You can just bring characters to life, use role play, give new perspectives, write a two-voice poem, take a poetry workshop, any of this. Okay. So in science, you can be like an excited inventor who's explaining something new. So, you come to them only with this whole, you have discovered this new concept of, say, anything, elasticity it could be. And then you can show them that this is how it works. Hello? All right. Okay. So this is the last slide. Yeah, sorry. I thought that I lost connection. Yeah.
Even I thought, no, it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So the last bit is, since we're doing online, now there must be a million apps and a million resources available online. These are the ones which I have tried and used. These are the ones which have worked for me. And they're just two because I know you get overloaded with so many. So I'm just giving you two to try. Chatterpix is exactly what's done here. So I gave them to learn. So when I teach them, I don't give it to them. So I ask them, now you are learning a new figure of speech. Now it's called anaphora. So they have to go, they have to research it and see this is the way they presented it. So they animated this. This is a software in one of their homes. And this is how she explained it.
Hi, I'm an anaphora. I love to receive attention by continuously being repeated by the writer. Even Martin Luther King the Great uses me often and teaches the world a lesson by saying, I have a dream.
So this is Chatterpix. So this is a way for them. This can also be an assessment for you to understand if they've understood the concept or not. Googlink is basically something like ThingLink, but ThingLink has now a paid version, unfortunately, so we use Googlink. Googlink is something where you have a whole image, and on that you can add, on the image itself, you can add URLs, you can add videos, you can add audio, so in one place you have so many things. You can also use Wakelet if you want them for asynchronous learning. It works very well. You can add your information, you can put in your videos, and then you can ask them to go through the whole Wakelet. And once they're done with it, when they come to class, you can discuss it. These are the sites which I use, even though I'm an English teacher. It's a wonderful site, Facing History, which tells you how you can make your classes more engaging and more meaningful, where you're discussing things of actual relevance, considering that the world that we live in right now, it is important for you to take a stand, have an opinion about things that are happening, and most importantly, to be aware. Project Zero Howard has the most amazing strategies for you to employ in your classes, so have a look at that. And with that, I would just encourage you to keep your learning online going, especially as a teacher. Learn first yourself and engage yourself and give yourself that exposure, because there is a vast plethora of resources online. and you must keep learning. If you feel like you're not getting ideas, it's because you yourself are not learning. So please make sure that you keep learning, and that's when you will be able to teach and make your classes much more enjoyable. Thank you.
There were something written in the chat box when you asked earlier some questions. Shall I read out that for you? Will it be
Yes,
okay?
sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
so just, yeah, I just read it. Yeah, 1 second. Huh? Yeah. The responses are, I think Natasha is trying to tell us the difference between school and prison. She is saying school, I run on discipline. Prison, I run on order. School, I impart knowledge. Prison, people learn their biggest life lessons with me. School, they leave me after years, ready for the world. Prison, they leave me after years, either broken or tougher than ever. School, I shape their minds and leave prison. They come to me when their minds and lives did not shape itself.
Fabulous,
Then
Natasha.
another,
That's a beautiful one.
yeah, yeah. And the other one by Das Mehta, energy transfers from one form to another, nucleus positive and electrons negative. Overall atom is balanced and neutral.
Yes,
Hello?
I can hear
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Then another one by Lata. She's saying two voices between roots and shoots. Then Shasti Agarwal, she's saying, I am student, I am teacher, I am creative, I encourage creation, I always give my tests. Further, she says, I love to play, I love to say without teacher, I feel bored without student, I cannot say more. This is what the responses we got.
Fabulous. I'm so glad that at least some of you tried to write the two-voice poetry. So even science, if you saw, was, encapsulated in that two-voice poetry, and it gave in such a good example. So really nice to see these responses.
Yeah. So before we will go for the, what we say, question and answer session, I would first congratulate you that people who are watching, audience, they are very happy with your presentation. I'll just read out what they have told you. Few of the responses like excellent presentation, nice presentation, very interesting, simple and an effective way you have explained. Very informative session, very useful session, lovely video, lovely session. We enjoyed the session. Video giving joyful learning and expressing ideas beautifully, nicely explained with the effective picture and videos. So these are the responses, and many more are there. I have just.
I'll go through it
they're
later.
really. Yeah. You can see on the YouTube live later on.
Yes.
Now let's see whether some questions are there. So.
Ansari sir, I have got a question for Angela.
Yes,
So I have been, I have been just observing you since last 1.5 hours, and this is amazing that you have grown much more matured. No doubt you were mature when you were at Bttc, and we had a wonderful interaction in the classroom, and we learned from one another. Now you are a 21st century teacher, and a lot of career is there, maybe 30 to 35 years for young teachers like you. Now, what kind of lessons you would like our young students to learn as far as these emerging pedagogies are concerned? Can you identify some of the challenges or the areas that they need to explore more and be more competent in the digital world?
All right. Thank you for your question, sir. So I'll tell you what happened with me. So it's been 1.5 years since I'm teaching now full time in a school. and obviously everyone's experiences are different, but I think when it comes to digital, when we moved into online, what I started doing personally was I started reading up a lot. I started taking up courses. I discovered platforms like edX and Coursera, which I had never come across before, and I have done courses from online courses from Harvard. These are paid courses, online courses from Harvard, from MIT. All of this is personal professional development. My school is not paying me to do this. This is something which I felt it was worth investing in myself. And today, when I make this presentation or when I talk to my students, and I know and I'm that much more aware of things that are happening not only in India but around the world. And that is something which I can then give references to in my class. So I would suggest that your personal development as a teacher never stops, and you have to invest in yourself. I think that's the best kind of investment that you can make, that you always keep learning, you keep reading, and you keep trying new things. So I've done like varied things, no, absolutely varied things, but in some way or the other, they have helped me. Like I've done random, so I was doing a lot of courses, which were all, very academic and very helping me to understand leadership roles in education and things like that. And then after that, I randomly did like a belly dance course. Because for me, it was about my self-discipline. When lockdown gave me so much time to do all of these things, I felt like if I can try all these different abilities that I have within myself, and I can try and work on myself, that is when I will be able to actually encourage my children to do so. So in online, whatever I have tried is only because I have kept updating myself. So my ideas don't come only from things which I see. So only my courses or anything that I do. It can come from any random place. It could come from something as silly as Big Boss. Like literally something as silly as Big Boss and the games they have, and I will modify it and I will put it in class. So that's what I feel. You should be that open-minded that whatever you're watching or whatever you're doing, try to connect it to your own work.
Ansari sir, can I say something to you, Angela?
Yes,
definitely. Please go ahead.
I recall all the days when Angela was in my class, and everything from do this to teach, to do that to teach the class. One thing which I really remember, and I always tell even the current batches, that when you start teaching English, your 70 to 80% content of your English book is already known to your students. It's that important for you to understand this fact. Because if you start teaching them the way any other English teacher would teach, they will really not be interested. And so going beyond the book, taking the broader vision of the subject, of the concepts which are there in the book is extremely, extremely important. And today through this presentation, Angela, I really feel so happy that you've taken up all of those things that were actually required to be a good English teacher. I again say it's not to demean any other subject, but yes, students look up to their English teacher a lot more than any other subject teacher. And even the parents entrust them, at least that is the condition in India. Being the lingua franca, they give more importance to English. So I feel I'm really happy the way you've transformed yourself as an English teacher.
Thank you so much, Neelu ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Neelu Verma, for your encouraging words. I think Dr.
Ansari sir, I have got one more question for Angela.
Please, sir, please go ahead.
Angela, you can take a time and reflect and then answer this question. It has been found that IPL model, Indian Premier League of Cricket 2020, very popular, not only in India but across the world. Now there wasn't a situation in India to have IPL. This Dubai people were so encouraged, so enthusiastic, and they organized IPL over there. So some elements are there which are the best. Can you just reflect and share with us what kind of elements that can be borrowed from IPL and can brought into the education system to attract learning, to engage the learners in a more meaningful manner?
Okay, so IPL, so my basic understanding is, so I'm not a cricket fan, I prefer football, but okay. IPL, my basic understanding is it's your 20 overs match, right? So everything gets over within 20 overs, right?
Angela, you can draw the inferences from football, not an issue. Forget cricket and IPL. From football.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I do is basically, this I had done last year. So last year I was teaching grade 4, and whenever we did grammar, for me, so they were a big football enthusiastic class. So anytime it was always miss football, miss football. So what I did was I used to take them up on the turf, and we used to have grammar sessions. If I'm the goalkeeper, okay, and they are standing there, I will ask them a question and they will answer it, and then they can get to score like a penalty or whatever. So only then they get to score a goal. So the point is, now there I have not taken anything from the rules or anything. There I have just played the game with them and got them interested, and they knew that because they wanted to kick that goal, they had to answer right. So they did it. So for me, it's not about only, I can take any aspect of the game. It could be the form, it could be the actual game, it could be anything, but I will see what they like and I will try to incorporate that.
Great. Yes. And how about collaborative learning digitally? How it can be thrived digitally?
Yeah. So collaboration is extremely possible. It is possible online, and I've seen that happen with all of my classes. So we have a 1 hour class, and we spend almost half an hour where we are just discussing in groups. So supposing I finish one part of the chapter with them, and I tell them that, you need to go into your groups, you need to discuss this, and you need to get back, and then you're going to present something on it. So any aspect of it. So when we have these breakout sessions, that's what I said, because teachers are very worried that, if they go into these breakout sessions, they'll just waste time or they might not do anything. But my criteria are very simple, that there are 2-3 things that has to be completed no matter what, and this is the time given to you. So by the time they come back, and if they don't have it ready, then they know that the next time they don't get to be a part of it. So it's a simple matter of just organizing it very easily for them, because the minute you tell them you have to go into groups, they are overexcited and they love doing it. They love talking to their friends, because that is one thing that they are missing during this online period, where they're not able to interact with their friends. And when you give them that time to interact with their friends, they're the happiest. So I drop in during these sessions, and then I see what they're doing. And if I feel like one person is dominating or it's getting out of hand, then I'll go in and I'll just be a little stern, and I'll come back out, and then I'll see. They always give me the results, but every time, for every session, there are always results.
Thank you, Angela. Still, it is overflowing. People are saying nice session, very energetic, lively. Thanks for the videos and other things. There is one question that I would like to ask from the YouTube person is asking. Just now I got it. How to teach, it is asked by Vidya Sagar Kumar, how to teach practical classes for guidance and counseling and school education subjects like yoga classes and games.
So, is this a connect? She wants to know the connect between yoga classes and games and school education. Is that what the sense is?
Just to teach these are the practical things like the school education subject like yoga classes. So how to do this drama part over there? Maybe
with PE and yoga and things like that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Games, yoga.
Okay, so if you want to incorporate drama in all of these things, I suggest, so yoga itself it has so much movement and it has so much self-control that the minute you try to ask them to express or in any way try to, give that idea of what it is, to give them a topic, for example, say a tree. so nature. So there are so many poses in yoga which are related to nature. The Bruksha pose and all of those things. I'm sure I'm pronouncing and saying the names wrong, but I remember it like that when I do it, so that's why I I say it like that.
Maybe you're
So
right. There are names of the poses are this only. You continue.
yeah. So it's very easy for them to try and understand that okay, fine, if I'm taking this pose and I'm trying to be in that state of calm and control, and then try to connect those feelings of the tree with that, like when they say that okay, a tree will not die even how many ever times you cut it with an axe, but the minute you go and you start cursing it and you start saying such things. So I think emotions and feelings can easily be explained through yoga and drama combination. Empathy can easily be brought out with this combination. I hope I've made some sense.
Yeah. Thank you. Acha, Angela, I want to ask one query.
Yes, sir.
You know that in our Indian situation, we always find, even when you used to go for your practice teaching, you remember that the kids, how they are so naughty, they are not allowing the teacher to teach. So when we talk about drama, yes, it is very effective when we do. But I would like to know about the number of students, that because if more number of students are there, then it sometimes becomes difficult to take care of the discipline part, because the other classes are getting disturbed, and then the other teacher is saying it is because of you I'm getting disturbed. So so what should be the minimum number of students in order to conduct any kind of drama in a actual classroom situation, especially in 6th standard and 7th, because the students are raising their miss teacher, I will take, but I remember when I was a student, the moment teacher used to tell us in history, okay, you want to do, the whole class used to run over there. So teacher say, I will not do anything, you go and sit at your place. Yeah, please.
So I firmly believe that if a class is not making noise, if a class is not discussing things, they are not learning. And I don't like classes which are quiet. In fact, I feel like, I don't know if it's making sense or no to them. I'm not able to gauge then what's happening with them. So I firmly believe that whenever there is discussion happening, whenever they're enthusiastic, they are mentally involved. And I feel like that is something which for 5 minutes of the class or 10 minutes of the class, or even for the whole class, if that's the case, if they want to, bring in that idea of acting or get involved in something, I feel it's fine. I feel like this, we as teachers and the institutions should understand that learning cannot happen only in silence. That's just not what is the norm right now. It can't function like that. And if you're talking about numbers, now I have smaller classes of say 20 students. If I'm in the physical space and if I have a class of 60, I will give each group, I will make groups of say 5 or 10. I will give each group an improv situation. So this is a situation, supposing 2 people are in the prison trying to get out and give me conversation basically. Okay. So now in that 5, okay, they can be the guards, they can be the prison mates, they can personify the jail cell itself. It's fine. Okay, so I give them one situation, I give them one situation, I give them one situation, I give them the other situation. And everything is possibly on the topic of freedom. And they will all come up with, I'm sure they will come up with such creative representations of what it actually means. If I give them a jail cell, I give one of them a cage or a bird or animals in a zoo. I give the other, say, possibly something as simple as even a job as a form of not having freedom. And that's their interpretation, and that's how they need to do it. My topic will remain freedom. The interpretations will change, but I'm giving them the situation and they will come up with it. Now, if they need help, I know that in such things, it's not easy to interpret all the time, especially because our kids are not used to it, because they're not given that level of freedom to think for themselves and to, just go crazy and let's see what we can make out of it. So even in a class of 60, it is still possible. And if you're talking about online with numbers in drama, then I think what you should do is, if in one class with one situation, if I have taken 20 students and asked them to do something, okay, then in the next class I take the next 20 and ask them to do it, because you have to also learn to be audience and you have to learn to be participant and a presenter at the same time, because listening is an extremely important skill as well. So either ways, but you can alternate it. It doesn't always have to be everyone at all the time. Especially with numbers in classrooms in India, I absolutely understand that it's not possible. But if you're taking a batch of students who are 20 and you're giving them the opportunity to act it out one time, the next time take the next batch. You keep a note of it, and that's still fine. They'll still look forward to their chance to do it.
Thank you, Angela, for your answer. And it reminds me when I was teaching in the year 97, 98, before joining teacher education colleges. I used to specially teach mathematics subjects in my 9th and 10th standard. So during at that time when I used to teach, there was something very, something the student gets stuck, and I used to solve the problem. I used to tell, "Itna sannata kyun hai bhai?" So they used to laugh because this is some dialogue in some movie it is there. Sometimes I used to say when they used to solve, then I used to tell them there are, because students are very much looking into the movies and they remember. I still remember my history teacher when she used to teach that do or die. The way she's saying, the way she is expressing herself itself says how energetic the teacher is, and automatically student pays a lot of attention to it.
It definitely transfers that energy, yes.
Yeah, that is true. And especially in mathematics, we have to do a lot of transformation of energy. It requires
we got many questions for Angela.
I know, sir. We have to
question in my mind, but I will request Angela to write the answer of this essay. What kind of new pedagogies Bttc need to, we can say, adopt in the contemporary time? Whatever you learned in last 1.5 years, if you can write a note on that, which we need Bttc, I will appreciate the most. I think
definitely, sir.
Our validity function, we need to start. Our chief guest has arrived, Dr. Vidya Nayak. I welcome her, and I will request Ansari sir to propose the formal vote of thanks.
Yeah.
And we can
just 1 minute, sir. Yeah, sir. It is within 1 minute. So thank you, Angela, for your nice presentation. I request the student teacher, Ms. Yashvi Gara, to please propose the formal vote of thanks. Yashvi, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Very good afternoon to one and all. Saying thank you is more than good manners. It is good spirituality. On behalf of Bombay Teachers Training College, I, Yashvi Gada, would like to propose the vote of thanks for this event. Drama in online education practices should be present in every class. This will provide students learning journeys that by design holistically contribute to the development of the entire range of 21st century learner skills. These techniques also contribute to the teacher's own evolution, both in professional skills and creative tools with which to deliver more deeper learning experiences. My sincere gratitude to our today's resource person, Ms. Angela George. Thank you, ma'am, for taking time out of your busy schedule and engracing the session for today. Ma'am started the session with the base of drama, that is singing and dancing activity. Ma'am elaborated and gave importance of sketch note. Ma'am also gave us the examples of few activities to engage the learners in online education. Thank you, ma'am. Behind every successful event, there is a team which works effortlessly. To begin with, I would like to thank our in-charge principal, Dr. Bhagwan Balani sir, our vice principal, Dr. Mandeep Kochar ma'am, and the faculty members of BTTC. Thank you, faculty members who always inspire us to work with zeal and dedication. I would also appreciate the efforts of our organizing secretary, Dr. Lubna Mansoori ma'am. With her efforts, the session of all the days were a great success. I also express my sincere gratitude to our session in charge, Dr. M.A. Ansari sir, and his team members, Ms. Janvi, Ms. Arva, Ms. Tanya, Ms. Jeel, and Ms. Saloni. With proper guidance of Sir, we all as a team were able to work with full cooperation. I also extend my gratitude to council members, social media team, and team BIAP. Last but not the least, I would appreciate all the audience, our lovely and wonderful audience. With your presence, this event was a successful one. I would like to end by quoting for all the educators that by learning you will teach.
Yashvi, excuse me, Yashvi, you should also thank Dr. Raju Talreja, Dr. Priya Pillai and Ranjit sir. They've also involved in our for the polling of the questions. Thank you. Yeah, you continue with the quotation.
Yeah, sorry, and thank you, Ms. Raju Talreja, Ms. Priya Pillai, ma'am. Thank you so much. I would like to end by quoting that by learning you will teach, and by teaching you will learn. Thank you once again. I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Ansari. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Yashvi. Now I will invite Dr. Bhagwan Balani sir and Dr. Lubna Mansuri madam for the further proceedings of the day with the valedictory session. Over to Dr. Lubna Mansuri. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ansari. And once again, a warm welcome to all the participants, my colleagues, and my dear students. I take this opportunity to begin the valedictory function, and I'm sure we have lot of takeaways in these 6 days that we spent together. And I'm sure that each one of us have reflected upon the sessions that we participated in. The resource person, each and every resource person have given us questions to reflect upon. I welcome all to the valedictory function of the second series of 1 week faculty development program organized by Bombay Teachers Training College on the theme Emerging Pedagogies for the 21st Century Classroom. I now request our very own Dr. Bhagwan Balani to please welcome our today's guest.
Thank you, Dr. Lubna. I will request the student to stop sharing this PPT because I want to see each one of you on this digital platform in the gallery, because the PPT is obstructing us to have a dialogue, direct dialogue with the participants. Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon to one and all. I can see on the video Dr. Lubna Mansuri, Angela Jo, Ninosh Kadi Silva, and our dear respected chief guest of the day, Dr. Vidya Naik. Ma'am, thank you. Thank you for accepting our invitation and gracing with your digital presence for this valedictory function. And today I am the most blessed person on this earth, because I am blessed with my mentors, and even more mentors like Ninoshka and Angela, because we have learned a lot from our younger students, and they are 21st century teachers. So we could organize this with the help of alumni of Bombay Teachers Training College, and they have been doing a wonderful job in international schools, and they are on the forefront as educational leaders. So we are happy to have Tasneem Patai Madam, Priyanka Baba, Azmeen Wania. We had principal of Fazlani School, Myra Goel. So they have rocked as far as BTTC's digital platform is concerned. And one message which I have got from all the talks is nothing but they have suggested that dump all those methodologies that inquire into how far children has memorized the, we can say, available content. Everybody has emphasized on the new pedagogies, which gives freedom to the learners to choose what they want to learn. And they have also emphasized on the emerging curriculum. Everybody has specified that give us space and time and respect each and every view, what child wants to learn, what child thinks that's more important. So I believe that giving space to the child to reflect, to learn, to share, to collaborate, that's most important. And even they have also suggested that there's need to change the entire curricula and the pedagogies, whereas the curricula shall facilitate to, we can say, adapt new things based on the child's interests, abilities, and what are the local needs, what functions well as far as child's life is concerned. That should be that means the learner should be core as far as the entire learning process is concerned. And role of the teacher is to facilitate either by using the digital tools, by using the ICT tools, or whatever the modes, maybe the theater, maybe the problem solving approaches there, maybe storytelling can be one of the device to teach the child. But child's expressions, child's experiences, child's views, opinions, should be at the center of entire education process is concerned. And I believe that we had deliberated a lot, and we are also successful in giving this message to the all upcoming younger generations. So I'm very happy about it. I'm happy that Madam Tejasri Joshi, along with Mr. Peter DeCosta, have come up with their teams, and the teachers from Ulasnagar. They have participated in big numbers. They have supported BTTC family in organizing this webinar series successfully. And the entire team of BTTC family, Dr. Mandeep Kochar, Dr. Meenakshila, Dr. Rajija, Dr. Neelu Verma, Dr. Ansari sir, Dr. Lubna madam is the coordinator. She has been on the forefront, on her toes and with her team like anything. Dr. Raju Taleja, Sapna Chabria, Naresh sir is there, and Dr. Manisha Tyagi is also there. So they are full-fledgedly with us, making these events happen successfully. So I do appreciate the role of the students for that, their technological backup, the student council, the leader, the front, we can say, members who has put immense efforts to make these webinar series a grand success. This one was the 13th, and many more are yet to come. So I think we are a learning community, and we have been significantly respecting each one's expertise and views, and we have been exchanging, we have been deliberating and learning from one another. And I would love to continue this session. And once again, I welcome you all for the validity function. I won't take much of your time. Now I will hand over the session to Dr. Lubna Mansuri to take it forward. Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I take this opportunity to introduce our chief guest. I would begin by saying, I'm tough, I'm ambitious, and I know exactly what I want. Yes, we have with us today Dr. Mrs. Vidya Vijay Nayak, ma'am, who is a business research and education management consultant. Ma'am's education qualification is PhD in education, MA in sociology, MEd in statistics and counseling, BSc in chemistry and zoology. Ma'am has also done her PGDM DHMR. Ma'am has retired as a Dean School of Distance Learning and Senior Professor in School of Business Management in 2015. Prior to that, ma'am has worked at Chembur Comprehensive College of Education, Mumbai for 30 years. Ma'am, it's our privilege to have you with us on this occasion where a scholar like you will be highlighting, will be telling us more about what teaching is and what life is all about. Ma'am is currently engaged in consulting assignments for corporates and research scholars for research data analysis and interpretation. Ma'am is a visiting faculty at various management institutions. Her earlier engagements are since 1970, ma'am has been working in educational institution at different levels until her retirement in 2015. Research in the field of management, education, and social enterprises is her passion and have proven a track record of successfully guiding research at master's and doctoral level for more than 30 years. She has successfully guided 30 PhD students in management and education domain of different universities in India. Dr. Vidya Nayak has worked as a research consultant for many organizations, including corporates, NGOs, and educational institutions. She has worked for research capacity building for primary school teachers. She has also worked on different academic as well as monitoring boards at institutional as well as university level. Ma'am has published papers in conferences and also published various chapters in reputed books and journals. She's chaired session and delivered keynote address at conferences, seminars, and faculty development programs. Ma'am has conducted numerous webinars at national and international level. Before I end, I would like to say a woman has a unique power of being able to look at the world's problem and discover solutions that transform lives and make the world a better place. I'm sure, ma'am, your contribution has made this world, the society, a better place to live in. This was a very short introduction of our guest. Before we go on further, I would like to read a short report, a summary of these 6 days, what we have done till now. The inauguration session began with a welcome note by Dr. Bhagwan Balani, Principal of Bombay Teachers Training College, by introducing our chief guest, Dr. Jayashree Imbaraj, Principal of KK College of Education. Ma'am talked about the relevance of theatre in teaching through the digital platform. Ma'am also emphasized on integration of drama and theatre in teaching. She highlighted on how a teacher should be a parachute and fill the parachute with innovation, fun, joy, and happiness. She also focused on two important words: adaptation, accommodation in the current changing world. The first day, on 19 October, we had the resource person, Ms. Tasneem Fatehi, Ms. Kirti Tiwari, and Ms. Sri Vidya Srinivasan. There was a team of 3 people who presented their session on the topic, Engage with Drama, Teach with Joy. And the moderation of the session was done by Dr. Lubna Mansoori. The takeaway for this session was how drama is a powerful tool that can be used by teachers to create an engaging and open learning environment. Some games and exercises that can be used in the classroom as an icebreakers or tool for evaluating the content that is being taught was highlighted in the session. Importance of the mental well-being of the students and teachers was also emphasized in this session. They also talked about the teacher role that the children can take and enjoy the session. Concepts and theme-based teaching can be done through this particular various activities, that is teacher role and many other activities in drama. The session was indeed an engaging one. The second day, 20th October, we had a resource person, our very own alumnus, Miss Azmeen Zubeen Wania, and she talked about metamorphosis, and the moderation was done by Dr. Mrs. Neelu Verma. The gist of the session was the fact that examination is not the only prerequisite for students' future, but experience and knowledge also goes along with it. Some tips were shared with teachers who can use them in helping the students to be focused, and how we are not supposed to follow the lesson plan if students are not in that actual mood of learning. Ma'am also focused on co-curricular activities and how they play an important role in the holistic development of a child. It was indeed a motivational session. The next session, the day 3, 21st October, the resource person was Miss Priyanka Babbar, the power of storytelling in education. The session began with a thought-provoking question: what is the purpose of education? How we can remove the barriers in society by narrating stories. How we should treat every individual equally with no biases and prejudices. Ma'am, Priyanka Babbar ma'am showed videos from TED Talks and addressed various issues in the society and how storytelling can be used as a medium to eradicate such barriers. Stories can add new learning to the classroom and help students to become critical thinkers, problem solvers, and effective decision makers. The session was very well appreciated. Day 4, 22nd October, the resource person was Miss Mehra Goel. She talked about project-based learning. She emphasized on how to apply different and innovative strategies in teaching, importance of knowing your students, activities like think, wonder, how to differentiate between a project and project-based learning. She shared few live examples on project-based learning from her school. It was an informative session. Day 5, the resource person was Miss Ninoshka De Silva, our very own alumnus. She talked about the topic that she dealt was enabling self-expressions in the classroom. The moderation was done by Dr. Raju Talreja. The gist of the session was Miss Ninoshka De Silva focused on activities on self-expression to verbal and through actions. How self-expression plays an important role in our life and how we deal with the problems and stresses of daily life. Tongue twisters, vocal exercise like pin, neck stretches, sound and breathing was practiced and engaged the participants in the session. The session also talked about the expression of emotion, feelings of a particular object in a creative manner. It was an energetic session. Day 6, the resource person, Miss Angela George, and the moderation was done by Dr. Ansari. The gist for today's session was listening to music at the start of the lectures help to lighten up the mood of the student and makes them happy. It makes them dance and express themselves. Sketch notes can be used to hold the attention of the students. Difference between prison and school was discussed on the factory model system, where rote learning and lecture method should not be used in the classroom. Videos focused on how to engage students. Graph of challenge and ability was shown. This would engage as well as challenge the students. The session was interesting and interactive through videos, activities, and stories. This was the gist or a summary of the 6-day faculty development program on the theme Emerging Pedagogies in the 21st Century Classroom. I now invite our participants and principal of MSPT, Ms. Tejashri Joshi ma'am, to say a few words and share her impression for the faculty development program of the 1 week that we organized for the school teachers. Ms. Tejashri Joshi ma'am.
Yes. Thank you, madam. Thank you, Lubna ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. Respected chief guest for today, Madam Vidya Nayak, BTTC in charge principal of BTTC, that is Dr. Balani sir, and the entire participants of the session who are present here today. Good afternoon to everyone. It is really wonderful and great to be with our very own Bttc, and I'm also blessed to be in the presence of Vidya ma'am. About the sessions, to speak about the sessions, they are fully power packed with suggestions and cues given by the resource persons. They are helpful to make the online classes more lively and meaningful. To speak about a few, for instance, as told by Angela ma'am today, it could be the emotional check, or it could be making the content more relevant by connecting it to the real world, or bringing variety and surprise, playing the charades, or peer interaction. There are too many such things, and they are simply wonderful. Now, very truly said that it is more important what the students learn and do than what the teacher teaches. The sessions, the resource persons walked their talk. That is, the sessions were truly engaging. And many of the things our teachers already know. But this is like a gentle but a strong reinforcement. The earlier FDP was also very useful, and so is this. It was simply great and simply wonderful. On behalf of all the school teachers, I thank Balani sir, Mandeep ma'am, Ansari sir, the entire faculty of Bttc, the resource persons, the student volunteers, and everybody for inviting us to this wonderful program. Thanks everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tejashri ma'am. Now I request one of the few participants to raise their hands so we can ask them to give their impressions for the session. Anyone in the Zoom platform who would like to share their impression? We can unmute you. Anyone? I request few participants to please share their feedback. Yes, can we have Satish sir? Satish Mahale sir. Are you there, sir? Do we have any participants who would like to share? Are there any suggestions on the YouTube?
Hello.
Yes. You're not audible. Who's this?
Smita ma'am.
Oh, yes. Yes, please.
Actually, I'm speechless just to give all these feedback and all that one, because whole week we all enjoy the different
You're not audible, Smita.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
This whole week we enjoyed a lot. Every day we learn different things, how we have to teach our students very interactively. Actually, during the metamorphosis session, it's like change in our whole mind. So every ultimate transformation just come in our mind. So it's really very nice session for all of us. Every session gives us a very new idea through storytelling, how we have to use our body language, how the expression should become there, how more interesting we can get interacting with the children and all that one. So all these week, not a single day we feel bored and all that one. So now we will learn how we have to take precaution that when we are going to just teach our kids, how it should become very fruitful and useful for us. Because the parents, those who are giving their loved ones kids, just they are like as a small bird in our hand, and it's our responsibility to make this bird into beautiful flower, having the different type of qualities, having the fragrance, color, and all that one in their life. So it's a great responsibility for as a teacher for us, and we will try our best to bloom these flowers which their parents give in a hand as a small bird. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. It was indeed, we are happy and glad to know that you have understood the responsibility of a teacher, and you know it's not an easy one, and it's a very challenging one in today's time. Thank you so much, Smita. Now I request our resource person, Miss Ninoshka De Silva, to share her experience and her impressions for this FDP. Ninoshka.
Thank you, Ms. Lubna. Thank you for having me here. I just want to say that what you did in the last week, what all of you did, professors and students, was to show us that when you really believe in something and when you really want something with all your heart, there is nothing that can stop you. So you overcame so many challenges to make this happen. And you echoed that strongly. So I thank each of you for doing this. I benefited a lot from all the sessions and I thoroughly enjoyed being here. So a big hand to all of you and thank you so much. Thank you, professors. And
Ninoshka, we would like your impressions on being a resource person. You've always been a student. We've always seen you as a student. So how did you feel that when I invited you, and how did you feel as a resource person?
When you messaged me, Ms. Lubna, I was very excited to get a message from you in the first place. I was happy to be contacted and remembered. And while preparing for it, I was just taken to my own journey as a teacher. You know, things that I use in class, things that have failed for me, things that have helped me reach the goal that I set for class. And self-expression is part of everyday class. You know, it's ingrained in the content. It's not just teaching, but to ensure that every student feels safe, feels important, and heard. So that is something that I use during English language class in school. Besides that, yesterday when I heard some of the reflections from the participants, I was blown away with what they took the idea, they moved it forward. And again, self-expression is not just limited to teenagers and our students, but even ourselves. So for us to before we can expect them to come forward and be vulnerable to us, we also need to show them that we are as human as them and we are vulnerable too. So I loved that yesterday when I saw that participation in the session. And
thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you, Ninoshka. And as usual, your sessions were energetic. You really moved us. And thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
And hope to see you for many more sessions in future.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I now request Angela George to please share her impressions.
So I think I was same, yeah, right. I was really very excited to present, and I was just thinking about all the things that I wanted to speak about. And all this time when I've been working on it, I was thinking that, no, maybe I need to add this, that. And my PPT was, I think Ansari has been very patient with me. I just kept reworking it over and over again because I was like, I have this much time and what do I put in? But I think that with Bttc, it has always been an experience for me that support is always given to you, like, with no matter whatever, even while I was a student there, it has always been an experience where even if I disagree with things or whatever, I will still be heard. And I think that's what this platform gave me right now, to share my experience as a young teacher, someone who barely has like 1.5 year experience. And I think it's very nice of the professors to think of us because, we keep talking about, yes, people of experience have a lot to say, but when you actually ask somebody who's young, who's been into it for such a short amount of time, and the challenges that they face, when that comes to the fore, I think there's a lot of learning that can even happen there. And I thank the entire staff of Bttc and the team for giving us that opportunity to express ourselves like this. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Angela. Once again, I would repeat the same thing. Experience doesn't matter. What matters is your dedication, commitment, and hard work towards whatever you do, your focus that matters. And I think anything, keeping all these things in mind can help you get victory, can help you give that joy, happiness. And I'm sure you've done a wonderful job. I was thrilled to see you, Angela. I remember you in my class, where you would be a little reluctant to take responsibilities. I hope I'm right in that manner, but slowly, steadily, within 3 months and 6 months, you are the one who was at the forefront. Thank you so much. It was wonderful having you all with us. Ninoshka, Angela, we still remember you all, and we will remember you all always. Okay? Thank you so much. The next session, I request our chief guest, Dr. Vidya Vijay Nayak, to say a few words for our valedictory function.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so happy to see you all around, and I must congratulate Bttc leadership as well as the faculty members. Rather than taking all the names, it is better to say the leadership and the faculty members. That includes everybody. And the alumni, because they have done a wonderful job. Though I was not present on any of these days, still I could see that as though I'm visiting. Balani sir has been kind enough to send me the videos of all these days. So at least I could go through what was exactly happening. And then I realized how I wish I was either younger, very, very young, at least to be a student, or at least the teacher, somewhere, where I could imbibe all those skills and all those, a different kind of attitude, that you have to have in the class. So all those things I wished I had now. Sometimes I repent that why do I grow old? I should have been younger all the while, because then you get to learn many things. You don't feel that inhibition to present yourself in the whichever way you want to present. So anyways, I'm happy that the Bttc has taken the lead in organizing so many different programs. I was a part of some of the programs also as well earlier. I think one should learn from this particular college that how to utilize even the worst possible crisis and make it as an opportunity, because that is what we keep on telling our students. I use the challenges as the opportunities. So I think Dr. Balani and his team has successfully practice that and use this particular pandemic situations in making out the best, bringing out best of the people. See, I could see you, Angela, and even Ninoshka. I've not interacted with you any time earlier, but I feel as though I know you very much, because that is the platform that sir has provided you, and that shows the success of Bttc, how they have been carrying out the torch of the education and the teaching learning process and carrying it further, because that is the alumnus is basically the output, a certification of the college. Anytime we say, isn't it, the product that you make, the product that you generate, the product that you really give it to the society talks about you. So more than the product, it is the certification of the institute. So I strongly believe that Bttc definitely has done or earned a lot of laurels, or I would definitely say that you are highly successful as an institution. The institute is really has done a creditable job in bringing out the best in the students and also making the faculty members give out the best in themselves. Now, I do not know, after doing such a lively and wonderful workshop of all these days, I really do not know whether I really can contribute anything to this. I really don't know, but still, let me just get out of this. And if you don't mind, as maybe as an oldie, I believe in sometimes putting some thoughts there in between. And let me share my few presentation, a small presentation that I've got. Hope you don't mind because it is time for you to have lunch. So I won't take much time, but still let me quickly run through. Nothing is new. Only thing I'm putting it together, okay? So I'm just sharing my screen now.
Ranjit sir, please make ma'am the co-host.
Yeah, I've shared.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Can you see? All right. Now this is what I'm talking about. What is the way forward to us? Just 1 minute. Huh? What is the way forward to us? Now your journey so far has been pedagogy like collaborative learning, blended learning, or similar other techniques, similar other methods using techniques like theater, drama, storytelling, and are used to help learners focus better, develop their creativity, and also you have activated their brains so that they develop best. The outcome is active learning along with socializing. See the way the interactions were carried out, the way even the faculty members or the presenters were also very active. So automatically people feel that there are social connections happening within the group. Along with socializing and adhering to social distancing, that is most important. You never changed the norms that are supposed to be being followed today. This is what we would call as virtual socialization, which was very successfully done. Now, what are the requirements for this? I think the teachers would require a lot of planning, no doubt about that, much coordination and collaboration. And one, I think the speaker on the very first day, I think Fatehi, I forgot her first name, Tasneem Shad.
Yes, Tasneem.
So she said that we have to make our learning visible. It's not that just it happens, so it has to be made visible. So in order to make it visible, I think most of the people or most of the faculty members definitely would have focused on student engagement and make it meaningful to the student as well. By switching on to, by putting in or incorporating high order, reflective and integrative learning, developing imagination, creativity and coping strategies, how to cope with the people around, quantitative or numerical reasoning, effective writing and communication skills, also socializing. Now, being a 21st century educator, what does it mean to us? It means that we should have the ability to teach and reach all learners. Now, how do we do that? We need to differentiate learning. Now, generally we say that you should not differentiate learning. You should not differentiate among people. But definitely you must have different learning and teaching strategies, which includes all the students so that they are able to learn using their own unique style. Now, as you are aware, there are many learning styles. Children learn differently. Most of the teachers are also aware of multiple intelligences. So as teachers, we must take into account the learning styles as well as the multiple intelligences of the students, and also their readiness level to learn. So this is a teacher educator is supposed to do. I am an educator is supposed to do in the 21st century. She also must have ability to implement technology, foster student relationships, forward thinking, I mean how to futuristic thinking, embrace change without any kind of grudges, still be ready for change, and master similar skill sets which are required. Moreover, the teacher needs to foster personal, social, ethical, national, and global values. Though I'm talking about values here, I mean values in a different sense of the term. Let's see what. So if the basic belief is that if the individual is developed, automatically all the individuals will form the society, which is a developed society. If the society is well developed or is value based, then automatically the nation will be value based, and automatically it will lead to the global value development. So basically we are at the core, the most basic core. Basic doesn't mean it is the lowest. It is the most important as a foundation of the world. If we really develop the students very well, automatically everything falls in its place. And therefore we must focus on the student development as it has been portrayed in the earlier sessions by earlier experts. Now the question is, I read about this in Stanford booklet. They were talking about value-centric framework. Teachers have to use advanced technologies and 21st century pedagogy to develop. No, this is nothing new, as I said, but they have just put it together in a nice way. To develop literacy, numeracy, ICT skills, critical thinking, personal and social capability, I mean enhancing themselves, ethical understanding, and intercultural understanding. That is understanding the globe, understanding even within our Indian subcontinent. We'll realize there are so many different cultures within India, but are we really able to understand them? So all these things basically constitute the value-centric framework. Now question is, why value-centric? Value-centric framework. Now question, why value-centric? Basically talk everybody knows, so I'm not spending much time on this, because values is the basis of everybody's behavior. And as we have seen in the earlier slide, that if the individuals are value-based, automatically the world will also be a value-based world. So value-centric framework incorporates 21st century competencies, which have been displayed long back, including civic literacy. I should know what the civic society is. I should have the civic society behavior. I should be a civilian in the real sense of the term. Global awareness. What is happening in the other countries? What is happening in the world? What about the ecology, global warming? It is not just global warming. But now people say whatever the globe, whatever the world leaders could not teach, just Corona has taught us in 6 months' time. Do we want to learn it that way? No, never. We never expected pandemic to teach us global awareness. No, we thought that our teachers would do that. And we are doing it. Somehow we are lacking somewhere, and that is why probably this complexes and imbalance in the human life cycle is come out. We should also have cross-cultural skills, accommodative skills thereby, critical and inventive thinking, communication. Now each one we can have as a topic to talk about, but I will not be spending much time on this. Collaboration, information skills, as well as social and emotional competencies. Learning progression now describes the typical sequence of learning. This is where the role of teacher comes here now. Typical sequence of learning in specific areas. Now, be any value-based or numeracy-based or cultural skills or 21st century competencies, as we have seen in ITC, or language, communication, literacy, any field. So any learning specific area, the skills and the disciplines. And the curriculum that is designed to help a student learn about a particular subject over a course of several grades. Now the next picture I think probably will make it more clear. I'll come to it a little later on. Why do we need this? The countries around the world have broadened their goals. They are talking about the breadth of the goal. It is not the depth of the goal. It is now the breadth of the goal. We need to extend our goals to the entire world. To include equipping students with a broader range of skills, the challenge of translating learners' aspiration into the classroom looms large. What is difficult for the teacher now, or what is a challenging role for a teacher? See, every learner comes with an aspiration. See, nowadays you'll find that students have their own say. They have their own aspirations. Earlier times when I was a school kid, parents used to tell us, okay, Vidya, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to study. In fact, I really feel bad that I really didn't want to go in for teaching, but still my parents made me go for teaching because my aspirations were different. But still I came for teaching. I'm not regretting it. They would have understood me better at that time probably. Or my college principal who was instrumental in pushing me into the teaching field, probably he knew me better than what I knew myself at that time. But still understanding learner's aspiration and taking him to the to realize that. Now, all this we have got to do in the classroom. Now, the question in front of us is to how am I able to do, or how will I define myself? How will I shape myself? How will I make myself amenable in understanding learners' aspirations and helping them to fulfill them? Now, I have many students in my class. Now, if I do that, how am I going to do? So what are those skill sets in knowing my own child, in knowing my own learner in the class, and what are his aspirations? So unless and until I know my learner very well, I will not be able to take him to the fullest development. No, I'm not going into the definition of education that we say drawing out the fullest of the individual and all. Everybody has learned that in their B.Ed classes and all, but still helping the child to develop fully to his own maximum development, or we call optimal development, whatever. So that is basically the challenge. So knowing the child and helping him develop faster. So that is an additional job the teacher has to do. So for that, what is required is a lot of brainstorming. It is very easy for me to sit here and talk about in 5-10 minutes, but it is a challenging task. Lot of brainstorming has to go in, insights, research basis, and forward thinking. Futuristic thinking have to go before we implement it. No, I believe in futuristic thinking because you do not know. I am reminded of one statement. What I think was that. If I say the statement, probably I'll recall it. The age matters, right? At the moment. Your children are not your children. They come from you. They come through you, but they don't belong to you. They are the society children and they look forward, and you really cannot push your aspirations onto them. Okay, so that is what I mean. You have to really look forward what the students would be. Now the child is 10 years old. When he becomes 20-25 years old, can I visualize the society now? What will be the society after 15 years? Will I really know where the technology would take me after 10 years? Will I really know what kind of curriculum he will need, or what kind of skill sets he will need to be successful at that particular point of time, right? So at that particular, that is what I mean by forward thinking. That is why the job of a teacher at this moment is very, very significant. Now, how will I do that? To develop any art, any sort of learning progression, one starts by outlining expected behaviors related to the skill in question from a novice level to an expert level. This has been explained little later on in the diagram. I will come back to this slide in case there are any certain questions. The different performances anticipated at different stages of progress should recognize differences in the quality and should form a sequence behavior. Now I'll go to the next slide. I'll come back to this slide. So what do I do as a teacher now? What are the expectations of a first grader? Now, like progressive expenses in terms of inputs, throughputs, and outputs. So at the first year, what am I supposed to give him? What is he should be given? And what could be the output for him? Now, when he goes, the first year output becomes my second year input. Likewise, second year output becomes my third grade input. Likewise, if I go, can I really chart out learning progression for my child, for a student, for any skill, for any literacy, for any numeracy, for any ICT skill? So for that matter, the knowledge or the subject or any particular skill or any particular discipline, how am I going to do this? Can I really prepare a matrix? Can I say that this is what I'm supposed to do right from beginning? So this is what I mean by the first grader is basically the novice level. And as I go on 5th grade onwards, I have not listed many here, but likewise it will go to 10th, 12th, 15th, 16th year, whatever. So if I have to really visualize a child at the first grade and at even at the school leaving, I should say the 10th or nowadays because of this national policy, it would be the 12th grade. Okay, so another 12th grade, can I really chart out all these things? So for that matter, I require futuristic or forward thinking. What kind of generation would that be? What kind of skill sets they would have? So that is what we call as, or what Stanford school has called as learning progression. Now you will tell me, or you will also think of that what is new in this we have been doing? We have been using concentric syllabus or concentric curriculum. Whatever has been taught in the first standard has been explained, I mean, what shall I say, enhanced, or the circle goes on widening. So I include more skills. I include more skills as the child goes up. So likewise, you go on increasing the diameter and the child learns. But all these days, we are thinking from the curriculum point of view. That's the basic difference in what I want to bring out. Don't just look at it from the curriculum point of view, look at the student's point of view. And that is why it is not called teaching gradation, it is called as learning gradation, learning progression basically. Progression means that you are going to progress ahead. So what kind of opportunities, what kind of activities, what kind of skill sets, what kind of activities should I do in the class? Of course, I am not undermining the methodologies. I am taking for granted the methodologies that we have learned. They should be there to make your learning interactive. They should be there to make your learning permanent. But where am I leading? Where am I taking my child to? So for that matter, I think that learning progression becomes an important aspect so that you are charting out a kind of a portfolio for the student. So when he goes out of the school, he has already the levels of development charted out for him. So different performances anticipated at different stages of progress in terms of quality and in terms of sequence of behavior. If we plan for this, that this is what I expect my child. Now again, backward chaining, as we call in program learning. You start with the output, that this is what my child is expected to do at the end. So what kind of throughput, what kind of behavioral inputs that I should give, what kind of curricular inputs that I should be giving, what kind of skill inputs that I should be giving. So I'm defining my throughput from the output. Now, if these are the throughputs that we are ready to take, then what should the child come to me with? This is
I'm just wearing this in case they say anything. You keep talking. I'm just wearing this in case they say something. You keep talking. I have nothing. Okay, now I'll tell you what we're going to
please mute.
Now we're going to go there.
With disturbance. Please follow the discipline of a virtual platform.
Okay, I'll proceed then. Okay. So now, therefore, learning progression for 21st century skills is a skill, is a skill or the ability that the teachers have to develop in themselves. That is what I would like to just contribute for today's session. And therefore, the greatest challenges ahead is integration of 21st century content, 21st century methodology, and 21st century student by a 21st century facilitator. Though I may be a 20th century facilitator, I have to really become a 21st century facilitator. And that is how we need to really integrate all these things, everything tuned very well for the 21st century in terms of content, in terms of the methodology of teaching, where it incorporates everybody, takes into account learning styles, takes into account the student characteristics, the problems of the students that they're facing, their home backgrounds, everything, taking upon into that, then talking about the methodology. 21st century student is a different student. You cannot really identify or cannot even define now. So with all these things, we need to keep abreast with the researches that are happening and also welcome the 21st century or go through the 21st century by being a 21st century facilitator. Unless we ourselves are 21st century facilitators, there is no point in addressing 21st century issues or adopting 21st century methodologies. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for your blessings, for your good wishes.
But I am sure that we will be all doing this. Bttc is quite capable of, reading between the lines and going ahead with the new programs.
Thank you. Yes, we are, ma'am, on the way. The forward way we have taken it. Now the progression way we'll be reflecting on that, and we will be taking it forward. Thank you so much.
One point
Yes,
agenda, but it has got lot many things, encompassed in it, built in it.
Yes, definitely, ma'am. We go on to the next session. That is the next session. I would say that the end of the session, vote of thanks. I would start with a quote saying, start each day with positive thought and a grateful heart. On behalf of the Bombay Teachers Training College and everyone present here, I would like to thank the management of the HSNC University, each of our remarkable resource persons, our very own alumni, my colleagues, students, participants for sharing knowledge so generously. Special and heartfelt thanks to our today's guest, Dr. Vidya Nayak ma'am, for accepting our invitation on a very short notice and giving her valuable time and inputs for today's valedictory function. Ma'am, your ideas and expertise not only reflect your commitment to your profession, but a resilient passion towards changing lives. People like you are the flowers that add color, fragrance, and freshness in a student's life. I would like to highlight the words of wisdom that you have just shared with us, that you have appreciated BTTC for bringing in forefront our students who have contributed to make our institution our #1 institution. Ma'am, you taught us today that there is way forward, that we are moving on pedagogies like collaborative learning, blended learning, and you have also talked about the norms of social distancing and virtual distancing and socialization. You have focused on active learning along with socialization. Being a 21st century educator, you need to have the ability to teach and reach all learners. You talked about the value development sequence, the value-centric framework, and the advanced technology that each one of us needs to imbibe in us. You also talked about the broader range of skills that we need to imbibe in our students. Every learner comes with their aspirations, and we as teachers and facilitators need to understand these aspirations.
Lubna ma'am, please unmute yourself. Lubna ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. I said all these without me. I'll start again.
The last two lines only.
Sorry, don't worry.
Okay. Every learner comes with their aspirations, and it is important to understand the aspiration and take their aspirations forward. It is important to know the learner. Ma'am, you also talked about the learning progression chart, the matrix that is important for our learners, and the subset skills that we need to take in the classroom. Thank you. We need to chart out the profiles of the students before they leave. That's something very important, ma'am, which I think we miss out on this aspect. And integration of 21st century content, methodology, and student require a 21st century facilitator. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us and giving the contribution, talking about something which we all need to reflect upon. Each one of us has inspired us to set out on a journey of lifelong learning. Saying thanks costs nothing but gives everything. It has been truly a pleasure and honor to have you all with us. Thank you expresses extreme gratitude, humility, and understanding. As you know, an event of this sort cannot happen overnight. It requires planning, execution, and a constant eye for detail. I would like to mention our deep sense of appreciation to Dr. Bhagwan Balani. It feels special to work under your leadership and guidance. Thank you for being a wonderful boss. I would like to thank our Vice Principal, Dr. Mandeep Kocher, for always motivating, encouraging, and giving that beautiful smile to all of us in time of stress and strain. My colleagues for their constant support, My dear students, the most important pillar of our institution for organizing this meaningful and significant faculty development program. Gratitude is the healthiest of all human emotions. In addition, we are grateful towards the support staff and all those who have worked tirelessly to make this webinar a success. Special thanks to Mr. Ranjit Kalaskar for the technical assistant, technical team, BIAP for collaborating with us and giving us this platform to conduct the FDP for 6 days. My dear students, special thanks to students who have immensely and tirelessly worked. Those are Janvi, Ritika, Sabil, Bhavika, Monica, Dhara, Melvina, Jacinta, Bill, Eamon, and all others who I have missed out. I am extremely thankful for being a support, being a pillar. Without you, I don't think so this session or this webinar was possible. Mr. Arbaz, Asavari Sarang, Yashvi Gada, Nikita Soni, Sharmeen Ansari, we have Hitika, we have Diane, we have all other students who have contributed immensely. Thank you is the least I can say to you all to show my appreciation for everything you have done to make this webinar a memorable one. I'm sure this has been a wonderful experience for us all. Thank you for being great audience and have a wonderful day. Thank you, my resource person, my alumni for being with us and accepting our invitation and contributing to this faculty development program. I request all to rise for the national anthem.
Thank you very much for giving me opportunity.
Always welcome, ma'am. We are looking forward for many such collaboration.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you so much. Ninoshka, there's a message from Dr. Neelu Verma for you, Ninoshka. Ninoshka, I remember the days when you helped me compile the Metamorphosis 50th edition.